everybody, AJ Ryzik here, and today we are looking at Manjaro version 0.8.10, and we are looking at the community distribution using LXQT for the desktop environment. Now, I previously, when version 8.10 was in release candidate stage, I did a review of the XFCE desktop environment, which is one of the the Manjaro supported versions, or home version, or however you want to say it. This is, like I said, this is one of the community versions using LXQT. And if you're not familiar with LXQT, it is essentially it is a Qt version of LXDE, which is the same lightweight desktop environment that is used in Ubuntu and LXLE, and there's others that use that same lightweight desktop environment. Uses OpenBox for the window manager. Like I said, this is basically a Qt version. Essentially, the Razer QT people and the LXDE people got together, came up with LXQT, and like they said, the rest is history. It's an interesting looking desktop environment, and while it's still early days for that desktop, it really shows a lot of promise. But anyway, let's not dwell on just that. Let's take a look at what Manjaro is doing with that desktop environment and what we've got in this distribution. So what we're seeing here is what you will see right after installing Manjaro. So you got this nice dark background, this welcome screen, which is something I really like about the Manjaro people, is that they give you this nice welcome screen. And even if you're an experienced Linux user, if this is your first time with Manjaro, it's nice to have the links to documentation, new features, the wiki, the forums, the chat room, all that kind of stuff. Help on building Manjaro, all that kind of stuff. Big thumbs up to the Manjaro people on that one. Now you can set this so it won't pop up every time you start up, but it's nice to have that, just so you can, like I said, be linked up to the various documentation and help. And something else I really like about Manjaro is that regardless of what desktop environment, they always make sure it looks nice. They got some great backgrounds. The various themes, whether we're talking the window theme or window decorations, colors, all that kind of stuff. They really take the time to make sure it looks good. Whereas a lot of distributions, they slap Gnome on, or they throw on KDE, and then really don't take any time to make it look good. And that's not a big deal to some people, but I think it says a lot about how much your developers care about the distribution if they make it look nice. All right, before we start looking at the various features of this distribution, let me pull up. This is the Manjaro website. If you're not familiar with it, it's just manjaro.org, or go and do a search and you'll come up with Manjaro. And here's the basic home page. Tells you a little bit about the distribution. It is a rolling release that is based on Arch. And something that I like about Manjaro, as opposed to some other Arch-based distribution, is basically Manjaro. They have their own repositories. Okay, like say something comes down the pike on the main Arch repositories. Okay, it just doesn't automatically show up in the Manjaro repositories. They go and make sure that it's fairly stable before they throw it in their repository. So it gives you like one extra layer of safeguard. Um, Not to say that sometimes they don't put something in the repositories that causes a crash, or they've got to back off on that update because they find out it causes problems with other software. Um, that does occasionally happen, but you know it kind of gives you that good compromise of cutting edge and stability. um, Obviously this is not as stable as something like Debian, but Debian, you're working with packages that have been tested and tested and tested and tested for a long time. Unless you're looking at the just working from Debian testing. But if you're working from Debian stable, then yeah, that stuff's been sitting around for a while. But it's very stable. This, you're running that gauntlet, that fine edge between stability and cutting edge. So it's probably a good compromise. Everybody's going to be different on that. So to each his own. But I like the idea of how they do that. But you still have access to like the Arch user repositories, which is basically community supported packages. Or not necessarily community supported, but various people in the community have gone and done the package build so that you don't have to package build everything yourself. Anyway, kind of back to the whole Manjaro thing here. Like I said, this is their web page. Right there's the most recent post to their blog page, and there's a link to the blog page there. If you go to this Get Manjaro, um, there is an XFCE edition, an OpenBox edition, KDE edition, Manjaro Minimal, which is just the base code, and then you can go and add, your own desktop environment, your own software, all that kind of stuff on top of that. So down here we have the links to the community editions, um, and that's what we're looking at today, which is this one right here, the LXQT. They've also got a Mate, an Enlightenment, Flubox, Cinnamon, Gnome, LXDE, and Netbook. Now, actually, this Enlightenment, I really want to check that one out, and for the reason that I just recently installed Bodhi Linux on my son's laptop. Really neat distribution, which is it's a Ubuntu-based distribution using the Enlightenment desktop. I'd like to go and try out this Manjaro with Enlightenment, um, just for comparison. Probably the first feature I'd like to show you, um, and before I go any further, one things I do like, Synapse is installed by default on here, which I love. I love keyboard launchers. So I don't have to mess around with the menu. Um, Control spacebar, and Synapse opens up, and like I want to. The first thing I want to show you is turbulence. So just start typing turbulence. There we go. Pull it up. Boom. All right. And of course it popped up on the other screen I've got running. But hey, it can't all be perfect. Anyway, turbulence here. We've got it tells you a little bit about Manjaro, but then okay, it gives you the choice of when you first start up Manjaro, you can go and, like, let's say for example you don't need a video file. Okay, well, you can eliminate the video file, or maybe you don't need the template file or the music file. You can go and eliminate those, and then various software packages, so you don't have to go and crawl through your software installer, which in the case of this distribution, they use what's called Occupy, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But like when I first fired this up so that I'd have access to a web browser, I picked Chromium because I'm a fan of Chromium and Chrome, the various distributions based on Chromium. But if you like Opera, install that. If you want Thunderbird for your email, go ahead and install that. Dory, Firefox, Files, all this kind of stuff here. Same thing in multimedia. I installed VLC just because that's my favorite of when it comes to the various players. Um, but some other good options there. Clementine, love Clementine. Graphics, GIMP is the bomb when it comes to image editing and photo drawing, that sort of thing. If you're not familiar with GIMP, think of it as the open source version of Photoshop. Pretty much, if you can do it in Photoshop, you can do it in GIMP. There's some people that may argue with me on that one, but yeah, you can pull it off. Um, and Penta, if you're coming from the Windows side of things, um, if you're familiar with like the MS Paint, that's basically what you're looking at there. Very basic um, painting, drawing, editing, that sort of thing. A whole bunch of accessories. Octopi is what comes installed here. Pac-Man, um, and you know that is another um, uh, what else? Software installer and updater, that sort of thing. Got LeafPad, Genie, PC Man FM for file management. I installed Thunar because I think Thunar is a really good um, file manager. Wow, my brain is shut down today. Anyway, and then here's some other stuff here. AUR support. If you want to be able to download packages from Archie's or repositories, definitely want that. LibreOffice installer, multimedia support, printer support, all that kind of stuff. So then you would go to forward. Now, obviously, when I first fired this up, I did some installation so that I'd have the stuff that I can make this video with. So it's not going to do anything now, but from this point, you would go and kind of verify that, yeah, that's what you want to do. Click verify, and boom, it'll go and install everything you need. So really neat feature for you know when you're first setting up your Manjaro installation. It kind of beats going through and searching for every LibreOffice package and Chromium and all that kind of stuff. And once again, it doesn't have every package available, but probably the most common stuff that people would install. Big thumbs up on that thing. All right, probably the easiest way to walk through everything is just pull up the menu and we'll go through everything one by one. So we've got 7-zip for compression and decompression. We got our archive manager, catfish file search, HP device manager, ISO USB. If you're not familiar with that, very nice piece of software for installing ISOs on USBs. Why else would you call it ISO USB? I've used it before. Very nice piece of software there. We got our text editor, LX image viewer, LX terminal, PC Man FM file manager, screenshot, speed crunch, which is a scientific calculator, Synapse, I already talked about that, XF burn for burning CDs and DVDs. Pretty light on games. I'll write solitaire. Be perfectly honest though, I don't know that I have ever played a a game on the computer. Well, no, I wouldn't say never, but it's extremely rare. Everybody's different on this one though, but I've got an Xbox in the house, and that's about the only time I play, only thing I use for playing video games, and even there, other than Call of Duty, none of them do anything for me. Anyway, so graphics, I added the GIMP. There's various ones that you can add there. Internet, I added the Chromium. HexChat was installed by default. Same with uh, QUpzilla. Um, LibreOffice installer for Office software. I didn't go through through the whole installer to install, since I was just kind of working with this for demo purposes. But you do have the latest version of LibreOffice. XPDF is a PDF viewer. Um, Down here in programming, we've got various Qt uh, applications. Sound and video, we've got our mixer, um, GU, GUVC view, which is what the little screen viewer that you see over in here, or webcam viewer. Um, Simple screen recorder, I added that for recording my videos. SM player was installed by default. I added VLC. Of course, we already talked about the burning tool. All right, system tools. Occupy is what we have for adding and removing software, and I'll pull that up so you can take a look at that. If you've used Synaptic Package Manager in the past, you're probably going to be, not real familiar with this, but this is basically the same idea. You got a little search bar up here, like let's say we're looking for File Manager. Maybe it's a little too much. Yeah, so it'll pull up everything, use the word file, and then you can specifically, like if you're looking for something specifically in, say, um, uh, like say Yourt, which is going to be your Arch user repositories. If you specifically want to look in there for something, then click on there and then start searching through the list here, that sort of thing. And then this, you can do what right here where it says system upgrade. That's sort of like in if you're familiar with Synaptic, they have a button that says upgrade packages. That's basically the same thing. Um, so you don't really have um, the Visual Software Center like the Ubuntu Software Center, or even the one that the Mint team uses. But for if you're not too worried about that graphical front end, this thing does just fine. Anyway, where were we? Okay, we've got a bulk rename for files, deconf editor, printing manager. There's that welcome screen again. QPS, let me pull that up so you can see that. Oh, and of course it popped up over in the other window. Let me open it up a little more. So if you want to take a look at how much memory and CPU various processes are using up, you can use this tool here. And you got kind of a graphical up here, what's going on as far as CPU, memory use, all that kind of thing. See right there, we're using a little over a gig of total RAM right now, which may sound like a lot, but you figure I'm running the screen recorder, I'm running the webcam utility, and got a few other things running right now so I can record a video, so that's not bad. When I first fired this thing up, I checked the memory use, and we were using right around 300 megs baseline, which is, it's not quite as light as as LXDE is. But you know, it's early stages for LXQT development, so I wouldn't be surprised if as time goes along that memory usage goes down. Anyway, where were we? Okay, we got our terminal. Of course, I already talked about I added Thunar because I like Thunar. There's that turbulence that we already looked at. And then here's the preferences. And of course, we got it for Flash Player, our appearance. And yeah, if you've used KDE in the past, you're going to see a lot of similarities between the KDE and the LXQT. You know, your utilities for changing the widget appearance and icon themes, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you can see you can change the various appearance of your windows. I'll stick with the GTK. You got it. Only came with 2 icon themes by default, but obviously you can add plenty yourself. Got our LXQT theme. So bunch of themes here. Kind of like that back there. Change your font, all that kind of stuff. All right, where were we? Okay, so we looked at customize look and feel. Okay, so you got, you know, what type widget type you like. There's the flat and dark. We got this Mediterranean light, this Raleigh. And then you can customize the colors. Okay, date and time, desktop notification, file associations. We can look at the file manager. And this one is for Thunar, so I mean that's basically only there because I added Thunar. But you know, your various you can make various changes to Thunar depending on how you like to view it. You know, text besides the icons or no text and all that kind of stuff. All right, keyboard LXQT system settings. Let me pull that over because I think, yeah, we already looked at some of these. Keyboard and mouse, the Manjaro settings, and our open box settings. We'll pull that up. Various themes, appearances, font. And this is something that I've noticed is that you have multiple places where you can tweak basically the same thing. And like I said, this is early days for LXQT, so it's kind of expected. But you know, that's something I'm hoping to see later on is that all of these appearance changes can be tweaked from one spot instead of having multiple menus all over the place for changing the same thing. Because once again, you know, you go to this QT configuration and this is a lot of the same thing for tweaking again. All the various looks that you can have. Definitely don't like the Windows look. So I don't know, like I said, it's early days for QT, so I really can't, I really don't want to get down on them on something like that because, it probably is going to take them some time to get that sort of thing organized. But that is something that I would like to see is, all of your appearance changes under, one main menu or one spot or however you want to call it, that sort of thing. Window effects. So you got different window effects that you can set up here. Enable client side shadows, avoid drawing shadows, don't draw shadow, all that kind of stuff. Opacity, fading, all that kind of stuff. Got the Manjaro settings manager. Basically, you can set which language packs you're using, tweaks to the user account, keyboard settings, hardware detection. So I believe, yeah, it's going to show you like your video driver, network controllers, all that kind of stuff. And then, auto install the free driver, auto install non-free driver, that sort of thing. Got session settings. And here's something that I really like on LXQT is that, okay, now by default it uses OpenBox for the window manager. But and this is something that I'm going to play with to see if I get it working correctly. But I had read that, like, let's say for example, you would like to use I don't know if you can use Compiz if Compiz plays nice with LXQT, but let's say you installed Compiz and you would just click here and switch between various switch from OpenBox to Compiz, or what's the one that Katie uses, Kwin, and probably Kwin would work out well. At least I would think. Um, just because since they're both Qt based applications, you could switch from OpenBox to Kwin, and then you get all those neat Kwin effects. So, that may be something that I give a try here. But you can select the different LXQT modules that are installed, running, all that kind of stuff. So that's, as far as that goes, that's cool. Default applications, different stuff you want to auto start, some advanced settings, that sort of thing. So kind of looking at our desktop here, across the bottom we've got a panel running across the bottom, and of course over here that's our menu. We've got our workspace switcher right here, and then quick launches for terminal, file manager, web browser, Synapse, root terminal. Got our open applications, nice little calendar and clock, sound mixer, of course our open devices, that sort of thing. Click on that to quick launch Occupy. Oh, and as far as messing around with the panels, you can go to the configure panel and change the icon size, row size. Do you want the panel to stretch the entire length of the screen or just a percentage of it? So if you want to make like a dock-like device, you can do that. A little tiny thing like that, but I want 100%. Whether you want it centered or right, left, that sort of thing. And then the position, do you want, and you can also pick which, if you got multiple screens, which screen you want it on, and whether you want it top, bottom, or the left. So that's cool. And then you can also go add panel widgets, and there's not a lot of stuff that you can add right now, but LXQT is a new desktop environment. I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see new stuff rolling down the pike pretty soon. So I'm not really going to get on their case about that either. Same with, let's see here, how do I do that? There we go, desktop preferences. That's what I was looking for. Here's where you can go and you can change your wallpapers. You can go and set a background color. If you look here in the backgrounds, you got quite a few different backgrounds that you can pick. Change text color, all that kind of stuff. Although I will say that purple is definitely not me. I gotta get rid of that because that purple is not working. Much better. So anyway, I think that about covers everything. At least everything that I wanted to show off here. I'm going to play around with this LXQT thing a little bit more, try and get a little more used to it, see what I think. I've used Manjaro in the past. I already took a look at the XFCE version of Manjaro. So as far as the base Manjaro code goes, it's a great distribution. I got to play around with the LXQT thing a little bit, see if I like that. Right now, I'm going to say it's not fully baked, but it really shows potential. I can see where down the pike, if the development continues, it could be a real a real XFCE killer. Something that's nice and lightweight, very configurable, especially if you can go and easily add KWin, compiz, that sort of thing, and easily switch your window manager, that sort of thing, add those effects. Be a very flexible desktop environment. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave comments, questions, all that kind of stuff below. Be sure to click on subscribe if you want to keep getting this great content. And thanks a lot for watching. See you on the next video.